Welcome to another edition of the Real Energy Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to talk about criminal justice. We've got two guests with us. We've got Tony, who's going to be talking about, his experience with the criminal justice system. And boy, oh boy, be ready.
Is it a story, Pat?
Who we got
Got
today?
stories.
Yes, sir.
We got Dollar Dave, a.k.a.
$1. That's all I got.
So,
$1.
so Dave, introduce yourself to the people
What's
so
up,
they
people?
can know who you
What's
are.
What's up, people? People, how y'all doing? Dollar Dave, better known as David Payne, that is.
Falls Church legend.
Yeah, I ain't gonna say a legend, but I'm from Falls Church. Been there 11 years. Here with my family. Yes, indeed.
That's what I like.
Here
So,
with my fam. Proud of y'all, baby boy. I'm proud of y'all.
so you know what we're gonna get into today. So we're gonna get
Yes,
into a
sir.
little bit of criminal justice. So Tony has a little interesting scenario. We're gonna talk about basically how he ended up into the criminal justice system. And we're gonna free flow this discussion. But let me start this off. We've got 8 people in this podcast today. Show of hands, who have had a run-in with the criminal justice system, either been arrested, jail. So I got drunk. I ended up in a drunk tank one time.
Several.
Right.
Been there several times.
We got what, 4, 5, 6 people.
I've been in there, civilian and in the military, but we ain't talking about all that.
Patricia, she's our white and shining armor.
Wait, did you say what?
I'm just slick,
say
you
white
guys.
shirt?
I'm just
White
slick.
and shining armor. She's the sole non-minority that hasn't been in jail yet.
I like
Because
it.
if I had had that running with the law, my mom would have murdered me. I wouldn't be sitting here.
She's our PO.
Same here.
She does come from Eastern European people and
No,
they don't mess around. So Tony, talk about it, man. How did you end up, interacting with the criminal justice system?
Pretty much. It was just the area I grew up in, and the way I was just raised, I guess. I grew up with a single mother. She was always working, keeping a, roof over my head,
Food on
things
the
like
table.
that, food on the table, And, I was just in the streets too much, man. And you know what the streets lead you to.
Them streets.
I
them
think
streets.
everybody knows that.
So was your father not a part of your life?
Yeah, that is correct. He left in my life when I was probably around the age of 5, I would say, and he would come back here and there, but I don't know too much about my father, to be completely honest, though.
Right.
But,
So Keith got an interesting stat.
Yeah, I do.
You know me, I come prepared. So Keith got a stat on single parent households,
Yeah.
and what percentage of them end up in jail. Go ahead, bro.
So there were 2 questions in that, Pat. And one was, how many criminals come from single mother households? And the other part was, what percentage of criminals come from fatherless homes? Which is pretty much the same question, just from different ways. And the stats was 90% of all homeless and runaway children come from fatherless homes. 70% of juveniles in state-operated institutions and 85% of youth in prisons come from fatherless homes. 80% of rapists come from fatherless homes. Wow, those are some staggering
that's interesting.
Hold up, what was that
numbers.
last thing you said? Rapists?
It said 80% of rapists come from fatherless homes. Now I find that one kind of particularly.
That's funny.
So Tony, what was your
Exactly.
what was the situation that landed you in jail?
pretty much, I was just, out with some friends and, got drunk one night and, alcohol leads to bad decisions after midnight.
Nothing good happens after midnight.
We decided that, we wanted to just ride around and, break into stores in the middle of the night.
Oh
and,
my gosh.
Yeah.
You get caught for B&E?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we definitely did. We got caught in 2 different counties.
Oh, good. Two
Yeah,
jurisdictions.
so,
Two jurisdictions.
Yeah, 2 jurisdictions. So I could honestly say that, like, getting caught in 2 different jurisdictions is a lot more stressful.
No question.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you know what they do.
How old were you guys? How old were you guys around, roughly?
Shoot, this was a while ago. I was 19 going on 20. Yeah, I'm
So young.
Okay, so for some of our listeners, we are based in the DMV area.
Mm-hmm.
So where you caught your charges, the jurisdictions, were you in the Commonwealth of Virginia? Were you in
Yes.
D.C. or
Ooh, the
Maryland?
Commonwealth.
Commonwealth. So the rules are a little bit different in court
Mm-hmm.
in the Commonwealth than they are in the state of Maryland.
I still got cousins who tell me I ain't coming across that bridge. They're not coming from
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I ain't
No,
coming-
nobody wants to come across that.
Nobody.
bridge. Nobody.
Yeah.
They
Got that
know
right.
better.
Give me 1 second. Pause real quick. So you got caught in VA and which other?
I got caught in Virginia. Yeah.
So what was the situation? How did how did they, what was your court case like?
My court case, it took forever. I was going back and forth to court for at least almost 2.5 years.
Did they? Were you in? Did they keep you in jail while the process was going on?
Yes, they definitely kept me in jail. Yeah.
So you were never granted bail.
Browner.
No, they wouldn't allow me because of my past record as well.
Gotcha.
So yeah, they seen me. The group, they seen me as a dangerous person.
Yeah. So when you
So for what, breaking and entering?
Yeah, breaking and entering, and because of I have another felony on my record, and when they look at me and see that, the jury and jurisdiction, they just, see it as me as like the bad guy, pretty much.
So when you basically go up for bail, right, the judge will determine two things: either you're a flight risk or a danger to society,
Right.
and those two things are going to determine whether he's going to give you bail or how much the bail is going to be.
I'm going to say something really unpopular and get this conversation banging here for a second. So I don't like rules. I don't like rules. And I can tell you that in my experience with bail and bond, there is a real heavy presence of white privilege when it comes to bail and bond. And I'm going to go ahead and speak on that because thank God I got to experience it. I felt bad for my counterparts that I was incarcerated with. However, I can tell you that the last time that I went up for a bond hearing, I remember the judge, he's looking at my record. I laugh about it now because I'm so far removed from that person and that time. But I remember being up for my bond motion, and he's looking at my record, and he says, "Miss Robinson, you have 16 failure to appears." He was like, "Now I'm going to go ahead and give you bond this time, but are you sure you're going to make it to court?" That was the first time that I was ever actually honest to a judge, and I said, "You know what?" I said, I don't think that I'm going to take the bond. I think that I'm going to go ahead and sit here because I have a feeling you're going to give me time anyway, and I need to. I just want to get some time clocked in,
and build it up now.
right, and build it up now. And he was like, "Well, that's he was like, that's pretty noble of you." Now, I will tell you, in hindsight, I never got any time for that actual charge. They were like, they null prossed it by the time my court date came around. So I could have went ahead and bonded out and went home and been comfortable, but I can tell you that I would not have went back to court. They would have had to come pick me up to take me back to court.
So Dave, have you been? Have you had an experience with the criminal justice system, bro?
Man, I done had a whole lot of experience.
You see that like it was negative.
I've been on Channel 4, Channel 9, and 7. Lord have mercy. Man. Channel 4, 7, and 9. I mean, well, this was in 93. I don't know if some of y'all might know.
That was overseas.
Yeah, I was doing dirt, you know what I'm saying, selling that crazy stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, how did you find did you find the criminal justice system fair? How it treated you and stuff.
Well, for what I did, it was fair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For what I did, it was fair.
Yeah,
I didn't do much time, you know what I'm saying? I didn't pay for a lawyer, none of that.
Yeah, I find it interesting because you had Tony, who had some B&E, so you had drug charges, right?
Yes, indeed.
So you had drug charges, you had some
breaking
breaking and entering, you had some other prior stuff. So that's why did they consider you a dangerous to the public? Is that what it was?
Yeah, absolutely.
Menace.
Yeah, Actually, the judge when I was 18, going on 19 years old, the judge called me a menace to society.
Wow,
Exactly.
come on, bro.
Did you feel like you were a menace to society?
No, not at all. Not at all.
How'd you get caught up in how you get caught up in all the nonsense, man? Because it's interesting to me because Keith just read and when I was doing all this research for this I was like, man, I wonder, does the single parent household thing, and especially single parent household with raised by the mom, how that differs if you had a dad? Do you think you would be different if you had a pops putting his foot in your ass?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But my opinion, I believe I'm gonna say my opinion, probably like 80% of the reason why children and kids get involved in gangs, it's because they ain't got no dad in their life to whip their ass and nothing like that. So you know what I'm saying? Like, it just makes sense.
And you're looking for somewhere to belong, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
your mom's
Listen,
away all the
exactly.
time, and then
Yes.
there comes an older
Exactly.
guy who's like the older brother, and then it's like,
Yeah, I believe every great person in this world wants to be a part of something, no matter what
yeah.
it is.
So
So that's the power of gangs and cults, right?
So we have
agree with
an interesting dynamic here. So we've had a bunch of people who have had run-ins with the law, and then we got Tanya who went to private school.
Yeah, Tanya. I've been. Have you been pulled over at least?
shocking.
Of course, I've been pulled over.
Okay, thank God. Because I've been pulled over, but
First of all,
But that's just
my
for
dad
speeding.
was an auxiliary police officer for George Mason, so luckily I knew a lot of
A
people,
police
police officers. So I probably could have gone to jail a couple of times, but they knew my dad, and they like come over our house, so it was a little.
I was gonna
It
say,
was good, but I have a question though. I have a question for Tony. So I'm a single parent. Okay, my daughter's 28, and she doesn't have any. She has no contact with her father, and that's fine. But I was thinking because you were saying, you said your mom worked all the time. Did you have?
Yeah,
any,
she
did you-
worked
So
constantly.
did you have siblings?
Honestly, not much. I had an older sister, and that's pretty much who raised me. Just me and my mom and my older sister.
Yeah, because I'm just curious because I worked too, and I was struggling. I went back to school. I think it was 2008.
how old was she?
My daughter, I don't know. She was before high school.
Okay.
But she also played AAU basketball, so we traveled a lot. You know what I mean? But I was still going to school full time and working full time. But reason I'm saying all this is I think that just like you said, everybody needs a place to belong, and I made sure my daughter belonged, but it was with basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think all kids have to have something to do, even if it's just you do art by yourself.
well, you had
have to-
strong parents at home, so the grandparents were
True.
kind of part of it, So
Yeah,
you,
and
so you could model more of that, I think.
Plus, boys are different than girls.
being
Well, that's true.
occupied
Very.
as a kid,
Yeah, I
the
agree.
But basketball is a
idle
good point.
mind. An
Well,
idle
well,
mind is a devil's playground, right?
But a sport a sport teaches children to be part of a team and to have each other's back. Like one of my favorite coaches of my daughter, he made all the girls bring a white tank top to practice because they have white.
What kind of freaky ass coach?
No,
is
no,
this?
no. Because when boys play basketball, it's shirts on and
Y'all
shirts
have to
off.
check that coach.
No. Listen, you know how
That was Bella
for
Caroli.
boys they have like no shirts and shirts.
Oh,
So
oh,
the
so
girls
shorts
can't
and skins,
do
shorts and
right,
skins.
right. Girls can't do that. So it was white tank tops and whatever else everybody else had on, right? But every girl was pros to bring a white shirt. That way, if you didn't have yours, I have one to give to you because we're a team. So if nobody had a shirt for a person, they were in trouble and had to do stuff. So it taught them to take care of one another.
So I'm curious about Tony's situation, right? So did you have uncles or other male figures in your life?
To be honest, I am 33 years old, and I'm just finding out that I have a larger family from my father's
Wow.
side.
Wow.
Which includes, uncles and aunts, and they're in Georgia and Ohio. I don't have the best connection with them, but I'm pretty sure that if I did have a connection with them growing up, like I would never probably have.
So how
went that
did
route.
how did that prison experience? All right, looking back, right? So you can kind of look at it and say, all right, I had that experience. How did that experience, looking back at it right now, how do you think it changed your perspective on life or just
Oh,
in
it
general?
definitely. I'm gonna be just straight up with you. Like, going to prison made me a man.
Yeah. How so?
Quick.
All right, I'm gonna be
Really
just
quick.
straight up. Like,
Well, I have a question first before you start. Where, first of all, if you don't mind telling where you were incarcerated, because there are so
Yeah.
many different prisons in the state of Virginia and different levels to prisons.
Yes,
like
that
there
is
are
true.
certain prisons that are minimum
If
security.
you don't want to mention it, you ain't got to mention
which
that's fine. I
is,
don't mind at all.
Coffeewood would be like a minimum security, which
Yeah,
they're
that's-
pretty loose there, and they
I was
can.
in Coffeewood my last year.
Is that a
Okay.
state or is that a state or federal?
State.
That's state.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because there's another huge difference between the state-run facility and a federal
And federal.
facility.
Yeah, they are different, especially the way they're built. Like they're
Hell
built
yeah.
inside. Yeah.
So you said that Coffeewood was your last,
Yeah.
like the tail end of your stint.
Yes.
Like where were you? Were you
I
ever
had
at a
got,
medium or max?
I got bounced around a lot. I went from one jail jurisdiction to the next. Then I went to
Which would be county.
yes, I
Right.
went to Bowling Green, Virginia, which was a privately owned jail.
Oh my God.
That's one of them for profit jails,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And,
so did you go?
Wait, I'm actually really interested to. We're asking a lot of questions, so we'll let you get through the first part. But for you to compare and contrast private versus state.
I would definitely love to talk about that. Like, honestly, since it's like privately owned and they do things they want to in
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
Like they really do. Like when you go to the hole in there, and when I was in Bowling Green, I went to the hole with handcuffs on me. Couldn't wash my ass. Couldn't do nothing. And they just sit there and, oh well, what you gonna do? You in jail? Shouldn't have came here. You know, but still, in all reality, it's not right. You know, still, no matter what, it's not right. You know.
Also with Bowling Green and Pamunkey, they're privately owned jails, right?
Yeah.
So
Bowling Green is at Pumice Creek.
Pumice
Yes.
Creek, yeah.
It-
So
I believe it got shut down now.
It did.
though.
A lot.
So hold on. So those jails, right? They are actually a lot of the judges and a lot of people that
Boom,
work
those are
there
the investors.
actually invest in these
Rappahannock.
jails. Rappahannock, another one.
Regional
So the
is
judges,
another one.
the judges in Pamunkey, right? They actually have a stake in that prison.
Yep.
So they have an incentive
How
to
is that
put
legal?
people
How is
in-
that legal?
Oh, didn't you? I wish I had could have printed it out, but then we've all heard about the story about I believe it was in Pennsylvania, the judge who was he was a youth judge, and what he was
Yes.
doing, his incarceration rate skyrocketed to like 96% for all youth. I mean, talking about for petty offenses, like the smallest infractions. He was sending kids to this facility for years, right? Come to find out, he's a better than 50% investor in this prison that he was sending these kids to. So, I mean, and what happened was eventually at this prison, like Tony was saying, the guard it filters down, right? So you got the warden and the what do you call it, the guards and stuff. If the warden doesn't care about making money, of course the guards they're paying, again, being private, they're not paying them to mess the money. So you get some really sick individuals who are working inside this prison system, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
And
yeah.
they
Especially
also
private prison.
and they also call it a holding facility too. A lot of these places,
Which means
right?
what?
Well, it holds you over to your
Basically,
trial.
they hold you over to your trial, kind of like jail,
Right.
Right, but down south, it's a little different in that area. It's like a holding facility.
So like
So
how
when you
they
go to
do
court,
it-
so when you get arrested,
in
right?
county, they usually keep you there.
They keep
right?
you there
Right, they
until
keep you
but
there.
when you transfer to other places, they also keep you in the holding facility. So when you go from jail to prison, they have to transfer you, and then
Right.
they keep you in a holding facility for a little bit.
Right.
Am I-
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then you
you're
and
right,
then
yeah.
you go to prison. Is that what you're saying?
No, then you go to your
mean,
depends.
wherever you land, you're gonna land.
You know what's difficult about that is a lot of times, because you've seen in court, you get these individuals who set in a holding facility or whatever tank, and by the time they get to their trial, because it's pushback, this, that, whatever reason, the lawyers have done it. The judge, first of all, the lawyers, a lot of time what happens is the lawyers and the judges haven't got enough golf time together yet, so they haven't figured out what they're going to do with this person. No, that's no joke. It is no joke. It really isn't. And they get to but then they get to their trial. Oh, okay, well, you're guilty, but now you have time served. So you're gone that day, but that never really was what they wanted in the first place. Now they've got you in this system. Now they've got you. Okay, now I've got you on probation. People are like,
That's how they get you with probation.
exactly.
Probation is a setup.
Because it's a setup. Because now they're like, oh well, it's no big deal. You know, you just
So it's a cycle that you can't get out
There's
of.
like
Right?
a percentage.
because
There's
now,
a percentage.
now you're at the point where we got you on probation for 10 years. So you go walk down the street, cop sees it. Now they got you for something else.
So I can tell you,
You got the percentage?
for my charges, I was on probation for 5 years. By the
Wow.
end of my
Criminal.
by the end of my
You were supposed to go to jail.
by the end of my sentence, by the end of my probation, I was on probation for 12 years.
exactly.
Because they
It's a
literally,
cycle.
I mean, any
Any
opportunity that they had to pull me back into court
Yep.
They'll do it,
and
yeah.
extend it. Because here's the thing is that, and people don't understand this. They're just like, just do what you're supposed to do and you'll get off probation. That is not how the system
No.
was designed. And
No.
here's why. The only way that they can, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, that they can continue to facilitate what they're doing financially is to continue to violate offenders and bring them back into court. Because every single time you get brought into court for a probation violation, it is $350 off the rip. Off the rip.
Dave, you had that situation?
And did I?
Wait, I want to know like what like the infractions that would pull you in for.
I was violated and charged with absconding because I
A what?
physically.
Yeah.
What's
First of all,
absconding?
Yeah, I
spell
did
it.
the same.
Basically, I'm on the run. I'm on the run.
So absconding is when you do not check in. You could be on the run. You're as far as the probation officer is concerned, you're missing. Now I had moved. And I had been told if you change addresses, please provide your new address to the
I had
court.
the same problem.
So
Yeah.
I provided my address to the court. I went to the clerk's office, turned in my new address. She said no problem. Nobody said, hey, go to your probation officer and give her your new address. So of course she violates me for absconding. Now the funny thing about that is that I get in front of the judge and he's like, you're being charged with absconding. And I said, that's crazy because you guys knew exactly where to come and pick me up at my new address. At my new address. It took 10 and a half months for me to adjudicate that violation. I had to spend 10 and a half months in jail to wait for a court date for a judge to look at me
There
and
it is.
say,
Wow, that's a long
time
to sit.
served.
Nice.
He literally said time served, and that was the end of that. And we're going to extend your probation for another 2 years. Well, within that 2 years' time, I violate again for missing an appointment and rescheduling. There was a lot of back and forth miscommunication with the probation office, and it
It's
was
meant
not
to be.
just, and
It's
it's
meant
meant
to
to
be.
be.
Yeah.
So when you call your PO, it doesn't matter that you called when they told you to call. You recollect the